Terrell here, and I'm here to give you the review for Tetris coming to Apple TV Plus Friday, March 31st. Make sure that you tune in to watch this movie. You've probably seen the trailers. I can't explain it any further than what it needs to be, right? It's a movie about Tetris, and who thought we needed this? I didn't, and I'm glad we did because this is really interesting. Like the story of how this game was found, how it made its way here. Let me give you the official synopsis of this movie. The story of how the most popular video game in the world found its way around the globe. The story follows the story of story follows the background of Henk Rogers, the one who and Alexey who risked it all to bring Tetris to everybody. And I think this movie does a really good job of kind of explaining a little bit of everything without kind of going into too much about it. Well, before we even get into the story, I guess, of the movie, let's get into like the cast and like who they decided to who's going to play who in this movie, right? We got Taron Egerton, which we know as Eggsy from the Kingsman series. I guess he's kind of stepping away from his normal like action adventure role to kind of do more dramas here. We see him kind of trying to do these more character roles now. I think after Robin Hood, he was just like, this just isn't working for me. Let me see what else he could do because he's a really good actor. And he has I think he has really good range. And potential to play pretty much just about anything. I mean, that's an actor's job, right? Some actors, I ain't gonna say everybody. We got Mara Hoff who's playing Tracy. We got Miles Burrows playing Dennis. And Toby Jones in this movie as well. You've probably seen Toby Jones been in everything. And he is playing Robert Stein in this movie. Movie, of course, is based on a true story, so a lot of the characters are being played by, are being, of course, based off of real people that exist, and this actually really happened. The movie is also directed by John S. Bard. You probably remember John from us. Not, I was going to say he has a lot of notable roles. One is the Dying Up and Standing Ollie. Nothing that I've seen, but obviously, you probably have seen some of the films yourself that he's directed. But just to give you an idea of what this movie is, it's a drama comedy, and just kind of going through this, noticing some of like the exaggerations of scenes. Like I kind of hate when they do these type of movies, and they're supposed to be based off a real story, but it's just real life doesn't always play like that. And of course, it's for the movie, so you have to throw a little bit of sprinkle, a little bit more drama, a little bit more a little bit of flair on it sometimes to kind of make it a little bit more interesting to whatever it was. Because I'm sure a lot of this was really just like meetings and stuff like that. But this movie really plays up on the fact that the Soviet Union did not want Tetris. Everything that came out of the Soviet Union, even if you were the one that invented it, the Soviet wanted to profit off of it. You had no control of your IP. And this movie really goes into a lot of the details behind the video game industry that you don't really get a lot of insight about. And that's a big part of like a lot of early games were licensed from overseas or people that made them overseas, especially like early PC. Because this movie also takes place in like the early days of Nintendo. And still trying to find like licensing for Nintendo and what games would fit for the brand at the time. But this movie also does a really good job, like I said, being educational and telling you that this is how business works in the video game industry, right? This is what you don't see. You see a lot of games that make it over here in the West, and a lot of stuff that they put licenses out for, and how companies like Ubisoft and EA and stuff like that, how they license their product, and how a lot of the companies now, but I'm pretty sure it was then how they made residuals off of each copy, where I'm pretty sure it's not too much different now, where like you make residuals off of like a digital sale, or you sell it on the Steam market and stuff like that. But we get an idea of like a lot of how the marketing and stuff works and how sales work in this movie. And just to give you an idea, like, Tetris, was a game that was made by Alexey. He created over in Russia, and then it got pirated and found its way over to the U.S. And then you got people bidding for a game that they officially do not have the rights for whatsoever. Everybody's trying to make money on it, and we have the character Henk Rogers, who is pretty much racing against the clock to be able to make a profit off this game, so he can keep his reputation, save his family. Because we get a little bit about Hank here. He has a Japanese family. He lives in Japan. He's Dutch. He has a Japanese family, and he also has his own company and everything that he's trying to save. Because for whatever reason, he thought that licensing Go in the U.S. was a good idea. The game's a little complicated. I don't think everybody's going to get it. But Tetris, was something he's seen at I guess the old E3, the Electronic Expo back in the day, where they actually showed off video games and a new product. And they find Tetris here, and they try to figure out who's licensing, where market is licensing. Everywhere in Japan, he buys what he thinks is the Japan rights to the game, and the way it works in this movie is that you buy rights to the game, you buy rights to the arcade, and apparently you try to obtain a handheld rights as well, because you have to be specific in these contracts about how you ask for rights of a game, and they do a really good job of really hitting down the legalese of some of the bullshit that you get with some of this stuff sometimes, and how early back in the day you really just had to pay attention to who you were signing with and kind of how everything was going. But really, not really. I feel like the movie is less about Tetris, obviously, and more of the politics behind it. Because I feel like you don't really see a lot of Tetris played throughout the movie. Surprisingly, I would think you would get it's maybe if that 5 minutes of actual Tetris being shown in the movie. They show clips and stuff like that, but the movie is obviously more of the politics of what they had to go through to get the game over here, what the deals that had to be made. You get a lot of cameos from companies, or you get mentions of companies like Sega. Nintendo is in this. The two representatives they had for Nintendo at the time, and they talk about how the big goal here is to make the deal with Nintendo, because if back then if you made a deal with Nintendo, you pretty much were sold. You didn't need anything else. Nintendo, you were set. They were the cornerstone of the entire video game industry. If you got in there, you were good. And Henk Rogers is trying to make this deal with Nintendo because they've now, under NDA, just disclosed to him that he has now have a he's trying to get Game Boy rights. They showed us all in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything here. But they introduced the Game Boy to him, and of course, Tetris was being sold on the Game Boy, and that was one of the biggest things to help sell it. But they did a really good job of just some of the, like I said, the exaggeration with the Russian stuff. I'm not sure how true that is, but it was definitely entertaining to watch. Showing what type of person that Henk Rogers is with his family, showing what type of person Alexey is, and both of them had, of course, producing rights, directed, whatever it is, their involvement in with the movie, of course, to make their characters look good in the movie. But I think they did a really good job. Only thing I wish, like I said, I just wish they would have showed more of the Tetris side, more of the player-based side, and not the business aspect of it, which the movie is about. But it's interesting, this is a potential thing that we would have never seen the light of day, had Hank never fought so hard for it, and got it out of Russia and got the official rights to it. As far as right now, he's the only one that. Well, obviously, other people have licensed the game because Tetris has been around for 30 plus years at this point, different platforms, and so many different variations of it on so many different consoles. To the point they actually have a Tetris company. I did not know that until after watching this. They mentioned it towards a little bit as the movie's over, and of course doing my research. But they have a whole Tetris company. Man, this franchise has become so popular and so addictive, and it's so simple. And it's basically Tetris is the template for everything now, right? Tetris is the template for, you might as well say, your Candy Crushes, all of those games where you have to line up and do stuff like that. But it's pretty good. Like I said, Taron does a really good job playing Hank, man. I definitely see some of the emotional range that he has with his interaction with the characters. Trying to be this generally nice guy, And everything that I see that I've looked up about Henk Rogers, I mean, he seems like he was up and on the up and up. Like he was a pretty good guy. The way he's portrayed in this movie, it seems like that was his like legit personality. And they show like some footage and stuff in the movie of him. But like I said, him and Alexey, I'm glad, Alexey being the creator of the game, gets to see so many people, enjoy his game. And you can see like interviews and stuff of him too, just really grateful of how, this has been his bread and butter for the longest time. And I could imagine just making so much off, especially dealing with Nintendo and, everything at the time and how many iterations of Tetris has been. The movie is definitely worth the watch. It's an hour and 58 minutes. You've got Apple TV Plus, which you probably do. It's definitely worth the watch. It was fun. It was entertaining. It's not mandatory, but like I said, it's a definite movie. You can just turn it on and have a good time. I definitely enjoyed myself. I enjoyed learning a little bit more about this game that I grew up playing. That they kind of went over. Like I said, my only issue was like I just wish they would have showed more of the game, more of the player side. But I understand they wanted to get into the business aspect. They wanted to get into the politics of how Tetris came to be. And I wish we would have spent a little bit more time with the families of the main two characters, Alexey and Henk, but didn't have time for that. It was a lot going on. There's a lot of spy conspiracies and stuff going on. Dealing with the Soviet and a lot like that. And of course, just bad business. That's the name of the game, man. Everybody's trying to, get over and find a way to steal something, steal IP and get over. And this was pretty much this movie is talking about overcoming that and getting to, doing what's right at the end of it all. And Hank seems like, from my perspective, a pretty good guy in the movie. Just making sure everything was handled. But as I said, Tetris coming to Apple TV March 31st. It is definitely, I think I said, for me, it was worth the watch. I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the characters, all the actors that were in this. Could have got more Tetris music because they definitely used a lot of Tetris music throughout the movie. I definitely appreciated the pixelated chapters throughout the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. And like I said, I just wish we had more gameplay of the game itself. But I definitely appreciated the how it's made of the entire thing. Like I said, hour 58 minutes. Tetris Apple TV Plus coming March 31st. Definitely worth the watch. Terrell from tells you here, this is what you need to watch this weekend. And play some Tetris, because like I said, this is the game keeps giving. Tetris 99 on Nintendo Switch. Tetris. What is it like the Tetris effect? It's so many Tetrises out here right now. I can't even name them all. But like I said, just to see where this franchise has gone after watching the origin story of this is crazy amazing. But yeah, check it out March 31st, Apple TV Plus. Let me know what you thought about the movie in the review. If you kind of have similar thoughts to me, like you want to see some more Tetris gameplay. I know this is not the Wizard, but what did you think about the movie? And I'll see you guys for another review. See you.